You're fine. You don't have to get started.
Okay.
I'm just gonna.
Admitting people.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Bowser.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a roll call for attendance.
Commissioner Bowser.
here.
Commissioner Bueller.
I am here.
Commissioner Day.
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Here.
Commissioner Robertson. Oh, he's not here. Sorry. Commissioner Shaver.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Okay, approval of minutes. We have minutes from February 17th. I turned some in for correction.
And Danny did too, and then Commissioner Hewitt reminded me of one typo.
So, minutes for February 17th with corrections are approved. Okay. No courtesies, no proclamations, and so we'll move on to board and commission reports. We'll start with Commissioner Warren. Board report.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Bowser.
The library board met, and a new employee was hired. And they suggested using Hoopla as a new online program for reading. And there is going to be a substitute librarian program, and people need to apply through the job service. That's it for library.
I got to attend 2 meetings. On February 19th, I attended the audit committee. It was very informative. We had a representative from the auditor there to go over findings, both past findings as well as possible findings going forward, which was very informative. I had lots of opportunities to ask great questions. And both Holly and Nikki were there, which was also very helpful to kind of distill how the audit process works, as well as understand findings, how they can be remediated, and steps going forward. One thing was noted that in the past or in other municipalities, auditors sometimes do an exit interview. And that I think would be really great for our commissioners. We could come in as a commission and listen to the auditor review and again, talk about findings and those kinds of things. So next year, I'd recommend the commission doing that. If we can schedule that with the auditor, would be great.
As they wrap up.
Just like he did this year, it would be just the same, but we would have to notice it for the, where public. Potentially there was more than 4 of you, it would be a public meeting.
And again, it is a fact-finding opportunity, not an action kind of event, but more of an informative event, understand the auditing process, understand government financing and how that happens and works, and all of the nuances. I've been on this commission now for 2 years, and there were things that I've had good educational moments. I had no idea. So, acronyms. It was a day of acronyms, and it was fabulous and wonderful and very informative. Again, I'd like to reiterate that those audit committee meetings are public. They take place on the 3rd Thursday of the month, and they're very good to participate in. I also got to go to my first Central Montana Foundation meeting on February 24th. A great board. It was very interesting. Again, another opportunity for me to learn a lot of different things. 3 grants were awarded at that time. The Central Montana Clay Crushers the FHS After Prom Party, and the Lewistown Parks and Rec all received grants. And at the end, we talked about how the large push for scholarship review is coming up for that board, so it'll be interesting to be in the board and help out with that process if I can. That's what I did.
What was the Lewistown Park and Rec petition for?
That was for equipment and materials at the Civic Center for a pickleball net and
Oh, that's right. They did.
paddles.
So that was
The
actually the
pickleball.
pickleball people that requested it, not necessarily Park and Rec department? Was that under our department? It was the pickleball.
It was in partnership with the pickleball.
I was gonna say both pickleball and the Lewistown Parks and Rec were identified in that grant.
The same thing, yeah.
Does it go through, do the funds go through the Park and Rec?
I would guess that they're all
Or the
gonna
city?
come to the city purchasing.
Rather than them receiving them for that purpose.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Question, Danny, where is the audit commission or committee held and what time?
We met, there's the speaker.
I have the volume cranked.
Hello.
We met in the fire department, but that was because the auditors were probably wrapping up, so that meeting generally will happen at the city hall somewhere.
Okay,
And it's in, the city manager report has those dates and times
okay.
always listed in there.
I
So,
didn't-
the
The
audit
meeting
committee,
most likely will be at the city office
Yeah.
somewhere.
and that's at 12 p.m.
And because that's a public meeting, more commissioners can come to that if they're interested.
We can't have a quorum.
We
can't
have
all
the
a
3
quorum.
commissioners who are identified, but the public is available.
I'm thinking.
Do you want,
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
do you want me to do ordinance?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
I also went to the ordinance committee and we discussed parking again. Some of the ideas we had, which I don't think we need to have a motion on any of them, but just the ideas that we discussed. That there should be no overnight parking on Main, which we were concerned about the people that live on Main in the apartments, which we want to encourage. So we were discussing maybe doing some kind of a placard or something they put in the car that they are, that they live on Main Street. They would have to still park on the side streets, but they wouldn't have to move their vehicles so that they could park there. So some kind of a, and we also discussed people that go to a bar and don't want to drive home because they shouldn't drive home. Do they get a ticket? And so we thought maybe that somebody could talk to the Tavern Association to give out some kind of a pass. I mean, not like a pass every night, but some kind of a pass so people wouldn't drive home when they shouldn't be driving. So those were some of the options that we kind of kicked around over here. I know Tim took really good, Commissioner Robertson took really good notes. And so I think we'll probably want to discuss that more.
Thank you. Commissioner Jamie?
Nothing to report.
No, we meet Wednesday.
Awesome. And also the Park and Recreation Board will meet this Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Civic Center. Alrighty, we'll move on to the city manager report.
Yes, so I took a little bit of an opportunity to discuss the Board of Adjustments and their process in reviewing variances. Again, the Board of Adjustments will be absorbed or dissolved, and in its place will be the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission's roles and responsibilities will include those of the Board of Adjustments and the City County Planning Board, kind of under one roof. But right now, as it sits, the Board of Adjustment has 2 roles. One is to hear and decide appeals regarding an air requirement or decision made by an administrative official in the enforcement or interpretation of zoning codes. And then the second one is to hear specific variances from terms of the zoning code and to make the final decision. when they hear or study those prior to taking action on a variance, they have to prove that the variance meets 4 criteria. And those 4 items are listed there. Those are: a special condition and circumstance exists that are not particular to the land or lot, or something inherent in the land, which causes an undue hardship. So kind of the example that we discussed there would be like if you're trying to build on a hillside or something like that, inherent with the land, that would potentially do provide some hardship for the development of that property. A literal interpretation of the provisions would deprive the applicant of the rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same district. And so one of the things they discussed and how they could easily articulate that is, you know, at that proposed location, you've got the condos just across the street. So it's been allowed up there by one owner in that district that also is within the R3 zone. And so we couldn't have a regulation that wasn't consistently applied. And then the third criteria is granting a variance will not confer on the applicant a privilege that was previously denied to somebody in the district. And then the fourth criteria is that the variance will be in harmony with the general intent or purpose of the land use plan, so our 2024 land use plan. So those are the 4 criteria. Tyler and I were the ones that presented that. Doug's staff reports that he prepared, I also passed out. So you can see the findings of fact, and I think our Board of Adjustment members did a great job in articulating they deliberated on each of the variances one-on-one and articulated why they felt the criteria was met for each of those. So.
Can we talk about that for a
Yes,
moment?
absolutely.
So just for clarification, the process that we are instituting with the Planning Commission has not yet been implemented.
Correct. So they have not met, they don't have bylaws and things like that.
Exactly. So the Board of Adjustments, the decision they just recently made on this apartment complex would have not come to the City Commission prior?
Correct. The Board of Adjustments is the only board that has the final decision-making authority. The Planning Commission, had they been created, could have still heard that. You guys become the Board of Appeals for them, and then, you know, prior to moving it forward.
Okay, so the Board of Adjustments has made their decision on this in the old system, in that process. We have seen variances as a city commission.
No, the City Commission has not heard a variance. You'll do zoning amendments, which look much the same.
When we talk about things like childcare, there's often the term variance used.
A conditional use.
Conditional use.
Yeah, so you have heard, those are,
Just
So
to make sure
the
we're all on the same
City
terms
County
here.
Planning Board serves as our zoning code, or zoning commission. So they administer zoning code, and they hear conditional use applications and zoning amendments. And so they're separate processes. I will tell you that City Code 1113-5, and I believe it's 4 and 5, will lay out all of their functions, the processes, the appeals process, kind of what they need included in their applications, timelines, all of that's very clearly laid out. And so also in the codes are basically what the roles are of the zoning commission, what a conditional use looks like and can be for things like that.
Okay, and so since this went to the Board of Adjustments, their decision on the variance is final.
Final pending any appeals. And so there is an appeals process that the applicant, because, so what the final decisions were, was on the 3 variances, they approved 2, that was the parking and the setbacks.
Mhm.
And then they amended the one on the height. So they had asked for 54 feet. The board only approved up to 45.
And that's with that new state.
No, as part of the like findings of fact.
Yep.
And kind of the deliberations, we knew that the state regulations for parking won't allow us to be more restrictive than the state, and the state had passed a law that requires, I see Tyler's face on here, so I'm sure he'll have some thoughts too. Only allows us to require one parking spot per unit, but there is a new law that comes down, and Tyler read the law, and so I'll let him talk about it if he would not mind.
Certainly. Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Loud and clear.
Okay, so uh it's this House Bill 492. This does adjust parking, how local authorities can regulate parking, and that comes into effect October 1 of this year. So we're still dealing with current code and whatnot. The other nuance on that code is it has to be you can't require more than half a parking spot for off-street parking for units that are under 1,200 square feet. So again, that state law that didn't apply for that review. They brought it up right at the end. There wasn't anything in their application about, 12, square footage for these things, but um, again, that is in the horizon from the Montana legislature on what cities can and can't do for off-street parking. And so, my reading of that new law coming, our Lewistown plan, and then the findings that the board made on the four criteria that was appropriate the way they came to that conclusion. Um, I want to. I'm sorry to go back real quick to speak to that appeals process. Holly and I have been talking about that. We're in kind of an interesting position where we have the planning commission that is oncoming. Again, we're waiting for resolutions, confirmations from county, from the conservation district to make that completely a go. Uh, but we're kind of stuck in this in between right now. And so continuing forward with the Board of Adjustments, their appeals process, the our statute's kind of vague on it, or our ordinance is vague on it. It provides that the decision can be appealed within a reasonable time. And so I don't know what a reasonable time is in this. Like it'd be nice if it said, 30 days of the decision, 60 days of the decision. Um, I thought Holly had a good insight, thinking about the time frame for the variance itself, notices that are provided in that. That could probably be argued to be considered reasonable. Um, but there is a time frame we have to wait to allow all three of those variances to be reviewed if somebody requests that. So again, we have variance A, B, and C, and there were decisions made on A, B, and C, and so uh, whoever doesn't like that decision could ask for a review from the board, and then we just have to exhaust that process. So that's something for you all to be aware of, that there is this ongoing business with the Board of Adjustments because of these variances. So once we believe that the appeal time's closed on that, that should hopefully line up with the appointment from the county and conservation district member. And at that point, it'd be a good time to wrap up business for the Board of Adjustments and the city county zoning.
Tyler, really quick, who can submit an appeal?
Oh, the public. So an easy one would be the proponent. So the applicant, the developer, they could submit an appeal for the height decision, for example. Um, members of the public could raise issue with all three of them. Um, so it's whoever has an interest in it, which members of the public have interest. So if they, like the folks that were there speaking out against it, they certainly could send notice to the board. And likewise, the developer, they could send notice to the board saying, hey, I think you got this wrong and this is why.
So you're saying then appeal would go directly to the Board of Adjustments just as an email, or does it go to another governing body?
Um, the way I read it, Doug would probably be the appropriate recipient of that. Um, so if you have, I guess if you had questions of who to direct that to, the city planner would be the best one. Uh, and then certainly if it was fielded at the city, I'm sure it'd be trickled to the, Holly to Doug to the appropriate parties to let the board know.
And so I'm looking at the city code, which is 1113-4, subtitle D, hearings, appeals, and notices, where it talks about appeals of the Board of Adjustments may be taken by any aggravated person, an officer, department, board, or bureau of the city affected by the decision, and an administrative official. And then it does lay out timelines, shall fix a reasonable time for a hearing of the appeal not to exceed 30 days. And then there's some notice requirements and things like that too, so.
And then last thing to confirm, when was this variance offered?
So the meeting was on the 26th, correct?
February 26th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last Thursday.
Tyler, Commissioner Shaver, I have some questions for you. Are you there?
Yep.
Can you explain the criterias 1 and 2 and how this qualifies for them? I don't know if you have that in front of you on the city manager report, the city code 1113-5.
Hold 1 second here.
This is just general, not pertaining to this. This is all general information on how.
Correct. Yes, yes. And they do have the staff
they're-
reports, Tyler, too.
Okay. One sec. I'll just Google it real quick.
I love that that's a verb now.
So I think limit how many variances someone can ask for. Yeah. No, there's no variance.
Yeah.
They can ask for 56 if they want.
Sure. I guess if they wanted to pay $200 a pop or something like that. And part of the application process. they
Okay.
ask.
So going through the 4 criteria, and everyone keep in mind that this had to be in regard to all 3 variances separately. So, Commissioner Shaver, which variance would you want to go through?
I'd go through the first and the second one.
And the first one we talked about was height, but what was A?
A is parking.
Parking. Okay. So, the way, and Holly, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way they analyzed all 3 of them, just to go through it kind of quick here, criteria 3 and 4, they did find that criteria for all 3 variance applications. So real quick, I'll start with 4. Granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this title and with the Lewistown Comprehensive Plan. They made unanimous findings for all 3 variances that this was in harmony with the 2024 Lewistown Plan. Moving to number 3, that granting the variance requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this title to other land in the same district, and is the minimum variance that would alleviate the hardship. Again, they made findings on that one, that asking for like the setback to be different, asking for the parking, asking for the height, that wasn't special. It wasn't like a privilege. It wasn't like allowing a industrial manufacturer to open up in the middle of the place. It was is of that neighborhood is reasonable for what they're asking for. Um, Going to number 2, literal interpretation of the provisions of this title would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other tracts in the same district. So again, this is keep in mind that these aren't my findings, these are the board's findings. And so this is what, after the hearing, after their deliberation, that they determined that when you read black letter, we're talking about parking. Uh, they they had to ask for a variance here because to make their building work, to meet our requirements, state law requirements of off-street parking, uh, they they would not uh, be able to do it without having the variance, right? Now, obviously, some of these things are these issues are self-created, but that's part of development, part of um why you have to ask for change in places. So, in regard to parking, they did make the finding. They said that they felt that if they did not grant it and we held them to the black letter of our current code, which we have to follow, our current code says 1.5 off-street parking spaces per unit. State law says we can only limit that to 1. So with what we have right now, we're at 1 off-street parking per unit, which equates to 40. They could only have space for 24, and so they're saying, hey, if you can't allow us to go against this code saying you have to have X amount of spots, we can't make this work. And so again, with the proposal of and looking at this versus policy, our Lewistown 2024 plan, they did make a finding that it was appropriate. That and I'm obviously paraphrasing what they're saying, but again, that through their deliberations, that's how they came to it. That again, black letter, they couldn't make their development work, and we think that with what was presented, that it's in tune in tune with the plan and it's okay under the code. Now going to number 1, special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, lot, or something inherent in the land which causes the hardship and which are not applicable to other lands in the same district. Again, it's the board making their finding. They had the public hearing, heard proponents, opponents, deliberated, and they found that based on the and again, I don't want to quote them because I'm going by memory here, but basically there's no other parking availability there. There's no parking garages. And then they again tied it back to the Lewistown plan of we need we're being pushed to build up and to get houses. So that's again me paraphrasing what was said at the hearing. But that is how they went through each variance. Again, uh, they selected the order that they heard them. They started with height, did their deliberation, made their findings for the 4 criteria, had their vote, stated their reasons why, moved on to the next one. So I used an example of I try to paraphrase how they came to that conclusion during their deliberations. But I tried to use that height example, running through those criteria. Did that help explain what they were doing?
Yeah, it explains that they got it wrong.
My last question with the specific variance, there is an included parking lot?
There is an included parking lot that has 24 units, storm retention and snow storage.
Thank you.
And so it's in your staff report too.
What was the second thing you said? Before storm retention, you said?
Snow storage, parking.
So So my thought is, so we've identified with that land use plan that we have a shortage of housing, right?
Correct.
So now that we have DC units like this going up and the one up on the hill, like at what point do we say we're good on housing? Or
Well,
like,
you gotta
what
remember,
does it take for us to be able to not be in that crisis?
I don't know that you'll ever not be in that crisis, but it's about that mix of housing. You know, the plan did identify, you know, building housing within districts that are walkable again. We heard people talk about, you know, not everybody has vehicles in today's world. Employees and some of the younger generations are not getting cars, are walking to work, things like that. And so just recognizing that there's not a one-size-fits-all housing fix, but then kind of operating in between the legislative realm too. And again, that is one of the governor's main talking points, and the reason he did and supported the MALUPA, the Land Use Planning Act, was to get housing more quickly built.
Along with this, just going forward, that area will see an increase in residents. Would we be able to include it in the snow removal? Because it currently is not.
It could be, it's already, both Spring Street and 7th Avenue are already on our urban route infrastructure.
But they're not on this tier 1 or tier 2.
Correct.
snow removal.
Spring Street stops at 10.
Exactly.
So if we did do that, you would further impact the neighborhood parking, because then you would be looking at, you know, odd and even, or during snow events or something. But that's definitely something, as we evaluate our snow ordinance, we could take into consideration. Yep.
And
John, go ahead.
sorry, it was someone wanted me to bring this up. The certified engineering impact study, and you said that was not required?
So we don't require, like an impact statement. That's often something that a subdivision develops. So this was not a subdivision, this was already a subdivided lot and already zoned. So you don't do an impact statement. We do work with engineers to get flow data and sewer information and some of that stuff. But
And that was all done by, which group?
VoIP Engineering, is who is providing it to us. I don't know who their consultants are.
Oh.
Again, this is the very first step in the process. They are, and it was talked about at the meeting, so I'm sure you caught that, that they are going through the process of reviewing their plans, submitting them for comments, but they do have to meet all of our regulations. You know, so some of it was discussed was elevators. That's the state of Montana that regulates elevators, and requires inspections and things like that. You know, the plumbing codes, the building codes, the fire codes, all of those will be met through their respective agencies as well.
She said they submit it for comments. They do also?
So the engineer or architects submit to our third-party plan reviewers. The fire department uses a firm to do the fire sprinklers and alarms, and then the building codes use a separate third-party reviewer to do energy and building codes.
Do they take into effect public comments then?
It simply doesn't meet the codes required.
So fundamentally, this was a plot of land that was purchased by a developer, and they have created a plan they'd like to develop with
Correct.
their land.
And, you know, one of the things is this property was one of the only parcels zoned for multifamily. It had previously been zoned, which is an R3 designation. And that's part of the staff report is currently, you know, they could have had 54 units under our current zoning codes. They, again, and through our land use plan, where we emphasize open space and kind of compact design, the lot coverage was far less than they could have, been required to do. And they were at 30%. That zone allows 55%. That would not have helped the parking situation, because again, you're only dealing with so much square footage. Well, and especially because they're looking at, an overall project. You heard from the fire department that evening. The developer was very closely working with the fire department to find out how that could be accessed in an emergency situation, primarily by the ladder. So there's above ground power lines that will have to be buried, and the developer is doing that work so that they have aerial access on the 8th Avenue side. The parking lot is actually bigger than the minimum standards, which are in code, to make sure that the fire department, if they had to, could set up in their parking lot as well.
Comparatively, do you know how tall the Esplanade is?
So Esplanade, you would have to look at what side.
Exactly. I was gonna say on the 7th Avenue, not the 6th Avenue.
And so the building itself is right about 40 feet, they said. I'm guessing that's on the 6th Avenue and kind of the average there. And then that building actually has, I believe, 41 units in it, so very similarly sized. It is got some parking inside of it in the old gymnasium, and then we have since it was originally constructed or converted to condos, did the garages and kind of that storage / garage area.
But the Esplanade's footprint is a whole block, whereas this one is just the half block.
Correct, yeah. And it's really zero lot line. I mean, it really has encompassed the whole block.
And the units themselves are significantly, they're
I
not
have
over
no idea.
1,200.
No, so this proposal was for 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom units.
Okay.
And it kind of fluctuated. It sounded like close to 1,200 and then down to like an 800 square foot unit.
Is this low income, do you know?
No low income. It'll all be market rate.
Purchased or rented?
It's an apartment, so that would be rented.
Okay.
At least at this time, right? Like, again, those are things that we can't regulate.
We're not gonna, but I was just
But
wondering
that's
about
what's
what was
being
proposed.
proposed. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all up to the developer, right?
Thank you for taking
So-
time on that.
Just a second. If this is a done deal, Board of Adjustments if no appeals happen, this thing's gonna be built, right?
Correct.
So why are we talking about it here?
It's just an informational, just
Very-
what the city manager report is kind of designed to do, is inform you guys.
I'm just curious, because I've had phone calls all day long. They said, well, thank goodness city commission will have the final word.
That's why we're doing this then, so
Yeah.
that you can tell them the process.
So I'm glad you did this thing. I would've been lost. I'd been like, sure we do.
Well, and it's the only board that does that, so. So moving on, again, some activities around the community. There is the building permit summary. January and February are traditionally our slow months. But that information is provided for you. The audit, and Commissioner Bueller briefed us well on that. Also included in your packet is the draft findings, and then a draft response to those findings. We do intend on pushing back on the auditors. There were a couple of findings that felt a little misplaced, and I can bring your attention to those. And also maybe like moving targets. We have made leaps and bounds of progress on these findings over the last few years and continue to just kind of get nitpicked. And the commissioners that were at the meeting could sense that. But there's a couple of different things that I would love to see resolved. The auditor prepared financials. Of course, we hired the Montana League of Cities and Towns to do some work with us. So we had them prepare our annual financials report and also start the process of calculating our OPEB liabilities. So I'm optimistic that those will go off of there. The city court findings, where basically they went up to the court and didn't like how they reconcile, or do their bookwork. And so, they wanted us to regulate them. And we currently have an agreement with the county regarding justice court, where it says, at a minimum, payments and balance reports from the full court system should be submitted monthly to both the city and the county, because the courts are, and Tyler's listening, I'm sure, to me, are, again, kind of an autonomous group. Again, you think about separations and kind of the branches of government. And so the judge is responsible for the day-to-day actions of the court. They do have what we kind of summarized as a trust account, one for the city and one for the county that they pay their fines out of. But I just have a hard time with a finding that is totally beyond our control and processes. And then we have auditors that want to work outside of contractual obligations that we have. And so that one felt like maybe it was a kind of a low blow. And then the bond covenants, this is one we've addressed numerous times, worked to correct it. And then this year they threw in, oh yeah, the county has a reserve account set up for the pool, but you're supposed to have it. And so this is a loan that's been in place for about 10 years. And I'm like, why are we just now discussing this? And why didn't we talk about this last year? So it felt like they were grasping.
Do you think there's movement on getting that in-house as opposed to at the county, or is that?
So we'll ask. I mean, one can only speculate what the county commissioners will do with it. They definitely don't have to relinquish that. In that case, we would have to discuss further what we were wanting to do.
Okay.
And then the budget, that's a timing thing. We did know that that one was hanging out there because those budgets had to be submitted by October of 25. And then the debarment one also felt like, again, we've made leaps and bounds of progress and require all of our contractors to jump through hurdles and have engineers administering all of our grants. And then this year, the ball that kind of came out of left field was, oh yeah, and all of your suppliers need debarment checks too. So again, a moving target. And so we'll push and see where this ends up. Other than that, we are moving forward with our zoning code updates. There's the committee meetings for this month. They happen to be the same date because of February's 28 days as last month. So we do have the library helper / substitute position posted. We are getting applicants there. We're currently setting up interviews for the public works director, library helper and substitute, and gearing up for testing on police officers. And then we have started the process of our pool hiring. So that's about all I have. If any of you have questions?
We'll hire the people bring the sunshine.
If all it took to not have snow is do a snow ordinance, I don't know.
Thank you, that's super detailed and. Okay, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment tonight? Non-agenda items? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This is the claims that have been paid from February 13th through February 28th. I have no questions. Are there any other questions from the commission?
This is just kind of out of left field, but on page 6 of 8, 58622, I noticed that we have ChatGPT subscriptions.
Yes.
What are those used for?
So primarily we're using it to incorporate documents like our policies and procedures into one.
What a great usage of AI.
we'll see.
They also do like the meeting recaps and things like that.
I move we approve the claims that have been paid from February 13th through February 28th of 2026.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Bueller and a second from Commissioner Hewitt. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. All right, moving on to our regular agenda, we have item number 1, it's discussion and action on entering into an agreement with Snowy Mountain Development Corporation for the 2026 Targeted Economic Development District and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. City Manager Holly Phelps.
Yes, so as we heard earlier this evening, the TIF admin, the TED admin are really done outside of the city. So Snowy Mountain Development is the administrators for both of those. They work well. They coordinate the meetings and meet with potential applicants. Also do all of the notices and advocacy and different things for these districts. And as you've heard, the board is in favor of renewing this agreement. There has only been a slight increase, but this is a one-year contract. We will volley back if approved that we would like to see this prior to the lapse, because this is a calendar year and we just recently received this. But we'll work on the timeliness of these agreements as well with them.
Is it an agreement that must be done annually, or could it be extended to a 5-year, 2-year?
I think and I suggested that to the board as well, it would be my preference that we do like maybe a CPI increase or something. And if we have issues, it could be opened upon mutual consent or something like that with just notice.
So these amounts that we're looking for with both of these contracts, that's just this straight, there's no other additional fees that the city pays into? Yes.
So if they
These are
do the loan,
administration fees.
there is a separate revolving loan, kind of that application process and stuff that triggers additional fees, but this is the day-to-day admin side of things.
I move we approve entering into an agreement with Snowy Mountain Development Corporation 2026, the Targeted Economic Development District, and authorize the city manager to sign that agreement.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bueller and a second from Commissioner Hewitt. Any other questions regarding the motion from the commission or the public?
What's CPI stand for?
CPI stands for.
Consumer price index, it's like a cost of living adjustment.
Okay. And then, out of the district, outside the city limits?
No, it's inside the city limits, the TED is up by the airport, Richard.
It wasn't city limits?
Yes,
It is.
Okay. I approve.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, we are approving the agreement with Snowy Mountain Development Corporation 2026 TED and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. Commissioner Bowser.
Aye.
Commissioner Bueller.
Aye.
Commissioner Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Okay, number 2 is discussion and action on entering into an agreement with Snowy Mountain Development Corporation for 2026 Tax Increment Finance District and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. City manager.
much the same. This agreement doesn't really change anything. It's for the calendar year. There was a slight increase in the value or the amount that the city would pay. But again, the board recommends moving forward with it. They handle all the day-to-day stuff and do a good job advocating for TIF and TED districts.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we Yeah, let's see, I have to figure this out. Should have opened the room. I move that we enter into an agreement with Snowy Mountain Development Corp., tax increments district, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Hewitt and a second from Commissioner Warren. Any other questions regarding this particular agreement for the TIF? From the commission or the public? Okay, let's do a roll
Okay.
call.
So we are going to approve agreement for 2026 tax increment finance district and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. Commissioner Bowser.
Aye.
Commissioner Bueller.
Aye.
Commissioner Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item number 3, discussion and action on allowing city staff to submit the annual certified local government grant application to the Montana State Historic Preservation Office and the authorization to enter into a grant agreement once the grant is approved. City Manager Holly Phelps.
Yes, so this is our certified local government grant. It is something that we've applied for each year for many, many years, and it helps fund our preservation office. We use kind of the match. There's a very large match, but we utilize staff time, office space rent, and things like that to partner with them. Again, they're anticipating $6,000. This timeline has been shifted a little due to congressional closures, but the process is still the same for us. It's a great partnership. Every little bit helps, and it helps us keep our preservation office going.
I would note this has really helped the city, something that's very good to keep a record of historic information. And I've seen a lot of great work come from this grant. And because of that, I move we approve that city staff submit the annual certified local government grant application to the Montana State Historic Preservation Office and authorize the grant and authorize the city manager to enter into agreement with that grant.
I second.
Awesome, we have a motion from Commissioner Bueller and a second from Commissioner Bowser. Any other questions regarding? I do have a question. So we do this annually, right? Do they ever look at that and say like, we see this annually, or is there always a risk attached to that because it's resubmitted, or?
Well, on its federal obligations, it's just kind of a pass-through. It would be lovely if they didn't make us submit it every year, but I've done it every time.
And we appreciate that. All right, if there's no other questions from the commission or the public, we'll do a roll call.
Okay. We are approving city staff to submit the annual certified local government grant application to the Montana State Historic Preservation Office. Commissioner Bowser.
Aye.
Commissioner Bueller.
Aye.
Commissioner Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Thank you. Our item number 4 is discussion and action on approving a purchase for a flow meter for the wastewater treatment plant from Mountain Equipment Technology Incorporated. City Manager.
Yes, so this is an electronic flow meter for the wastewater plant. This is replacing a like with like, and not only acquiring the material or the item, but then installing it and making it communicate with our software down there. And so, again, this is our supplier, the person that has set up our SCADA system, and so there was just the one thing.
Is this something that's been budgeted for?
I know, this actually was something that failed, and we had to revert back to our old school method, which is a winner.
Is this then something that the budget can accommodate?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of a flow meter for the wastewater treatment plant from from Mountain Equipment Technology.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Bowser and a second from Commissioner Warren. Any other questions regarding the meter from the commission or the public? Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, we're approving the purchase of a flow meter for the wastewater treatment plant from Mountain Equipment Technology. Commissioner Bowser.
Aye.
Commissioner Bueller.
Aye.
Commissioner Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
All right, our final item on the agenda tonight is discussion and action on entering into an independent contractor agreement with Pamela Boston for planning services and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. City manager Holly.
Yep, so Pam is, was the county planner. She has stepped away from that position, now provides contract service, for some things with Fergus County. But during one of our meetings, it was discussed that she would be willing to take on some planning activities for the city, such as, floodplain permits and things like that. So Doug is, working a limited schedule, for health reasons, and so this would allow us to move forward with those requests in a timely manner. So, and the cost would just be passed on, to the applicants.
Is her contract in line with what he was being paid, or?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there's really no way to compare an employee versus contract services. But they are in line with kind of what you would see within the industry.
I make a motion to enter into a contract with Pamela Bozen for planning services and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Bowser and a second from Commissioner Bueller. So is that just kind of like it could be immediate, you decide on
We
that
currently
day?
have nothing in play. There is a development going east of town that we continue to communicate that would require it, but we don't have any permits, like, waiting.
Any other questions from the commission regarding the contracted services? Contracted services? Or the public?
Just a second, real quick.
Sure.
Travel expenses include mileage, standard rate of 70. What other travel expenses could there be?
Again, if she has to go out to a job site or something like that, again, she does these.
It's not gonna be any vacations to Orlando or overnight stay or anything.
No. And like,
Just travel.
our
basically, everybody.
jurisdiction is within the city limits, where some of these, she may be contracting with other counties or things like that.
If there's no other questions, we'll do a roll call
Okay, so we are entering into an independent contract agreement with Pamela Boson for planning services and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. Commissioner Bowser.
Aye.
Commissioner Bueller.
Aye.
Commissioner Day.
vote. Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Aye.
Commissioner Shaver.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, citizens' requests. Citizens' requests. Okay, all right, we'll start with our commissioner minutes, and we'll begin with Commissioner Hewitt.
I have. Oh my gosh. Well, one of my questions was answered, no, I can't. Maybe I have
Come back to you.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on the tail end.
Yeah, see if I can remember what.
Commissioner Shaver?
Yeah, I don't have anything this week.
Back to you, if you want. Commissioner Bueller?
I have things, I always have things. I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk about the Board of Adjustments and their recent decision that helped me understand, as well as make clear the process for all of those that are a part of it. It's very much appreciated. My second minute came out of our discussion earlier, and you may not know, I'm just wondering about an update on the Berg property. Is that still
So
city
that,
property?
yes, that developer had to basically have closed on that property, by December 31st. That did not happen, and so it is now available to anybody. That developer has reached out, and I know did want to have some discussions with the city and continue discussions, but we are not under contract.
The same developer that presented earlier.
And I've had other inquiries too,
Okay.
over the fall.
Thanks.
Yes.
Commissioner Bowser?
I have just a couple small things. How long is it gonna be before we get a planning committee up and running?
Planning
So
commission?
really, we're waiting on the confirmation from the county and the conservation district, which they both are aware of. There's been some confusion if the county kind of moved over their planning board members to the planning commission, or just their newly, appointed individual. And so I know Doug, our planner, was checking on that. And then, once we have the board all set, we'll go through the bylaws and then dissolve or disband the Board of Adjustments and the City County Planning Board, and then they will be functional.
But we really don't have time for it.
We're hoping, they kind of decided, you guys discussed a little bit at the department meeting, hopefully by April,
Yes.
because we want to make sure there's nothing else on the table.
Yeah.
So we're
Our
hoping
goal
that-
is this month, and then, again, they'll have the zoning code updates and things like that. Kind of that tentative timeline is to get, some proposals in front of them quickly so that they can weigh in on, proposals before we do outreach and things like that, and have that process finalized, yet this fall.
My other thing was, my husband and I went to the Class C tournaments this weekend, and Class C people were thrilled that the Civic Center was updated. Heard lots of great things, brought back a lot of nostalgia to those of us that went to every
There's a
tournament.
great Facebook,
Yeah.
video on it. That's where I got the little picture of it was very cool and very kind of reminiscent of, seeing it laid out that way. and
'Cause you
stuff
used to have to
like that.
wait
The
in line,
cheerleaders
And the fire department would
count you in.
count us in, and you had to be there for hours ahead of time,
Oh
and
my
you
goodness.
crammed in there, and you couldn't get up to go to the bathroom. So it brought back a lot of really great memories, and people wanted me to thank the city for doing that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Warren?
I don't have any.
No.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hewitt? No. Still no? Commissioner Shaver? Still no?
He's still, no, I'm gonna say this, I think the Board of Adjustments got that wrong on that, what they did with the variance and stuff, and I think that, I think we do need, of course, we need housing in Lewistown, but I don't think, because of the way Baca is kind of backed out a little bit, I don't think it needs to happen. I don't think we need to rush this, just 30 units here, 40 there. There's no reason there can't only be 20 units up there and 30 there, and the Bird Lumber place needs to get housed somehow, we need to get that figured out, so I think, whoever appeals, or who, if I don't do it myself, I think they got it wrong on a lot of spots, so that's all I have.
Thank you. I did a thing, the motorhome that is on Watson Water. What happened with that?
I'm not aware of it.
I don't know where you're talking
Oh,
about.
on east,
Oh, the camper?
the camper, well,
I don't think they're using it to live in it. I think, again, the planning department wrote a letter, that said it, had a very limited timeline, I think through the end of the year, and I don't believe that they chose to continue that arrangement. I think they're just storing it at that location at this point.
Well, it seems like it's a smaller unit than it originally was.
They traded their unit for something smaller.
We'll look
I
into
was
it.
up
I
by
don't know.
there and I thought, well, that isn't as big as it was originally when I originally saw it. Because this would pass the 20-foot.
Setbacks and
Yeah.
stuff there.
Okay, that's it.
All right, I was just curious to know, our audit committee, are we firm on that 12 PM Thursday lunch hour? Is there any possibility for that to change or?
That's for you guys to
Does
decide.
that not work for you?
Well, I just worry it's everybody's like lunch hour, is that
Right.
I
something
thought
that?
that's why we picked it.
It wasn't why I picked it, but if that's something that we're still gonna stay firm on, that's fine. But if there's anybody else that wanted to have that changed, I would be willing to.
At our next meeting, we could propose some alternatives,
Okay,
and then we can see what works.
because I know your time is valuable too. It's your lunch, so, okay, all right, so that will still stand. And then otherwise, I just wanted to express thank you as well. Seeing as Commissioner Brewer, ditto, I concur. It was very informative tonight and very appreciated. And, yeah, both the committee of the whole and the time that you took with the city manager report. Anything else for the good of the order from the public or the commission? Okay, we'll adjourn.